Hey, nice to have you back here in this new video. Today let's talk about the RICOH THETA X, the brand new theta model in the year of 2022. Even though I haven't get my hands on the real camera, but judging from all the public information, the articles, the spec sheet, especially we can get even deeper on the RICOH THETA official website and the RICOH THETA developer forum. So if you compose all this material together, we can know a lot more about the RICOH THETA X. But most importantly, you should notice that some of the killer features are still missing on the current RICOH THETA X. And at the end of this video, I will share with you all of the futuristic features that I hope RICOH THETA X could catch up. And my name is Yuxing Guo. My YouTube channel is dedicated to 360 photography, video, accessories, and cutting-edge technology. So first thing first, let's open this theta360.com. This is the official website of the RICOH THETA company. Before the launch of the THETA X, what used to be the picture was the THETA Z1 together with the THETA V. But now you can see the THETA V has gone. Instead, the THETA X come into the front stage, similar shape and size. And if you take a closer look at the picture, you can see some real differences. The main differences, the lens and the multi-touch screen. The THETA X has a much smaller image sensor compared with Z1. It equipped with dual hub image sensor, which I suppose it should be the Sony IMX586 that has 14 megapixels with quad Bayer patterns. The THETA X will capture up to 11K photos, and with the redesigned user interface on this 2.25-inch display with a built-in Android operating system. So that is to say, now we have an Android operating system at the same time with a user interface. So it looks like the THETA X has some similar feature with our mobile phone. That will definitely revolutionize how we interact with the brand new THETA X. In the product list, we can see on the top of the list is the Z1. That is to say, the Z1 is still at the flagship model, the top notch of the RICOH THETA product line. Okay, now you can see this screen. On my previous video, I predict that it has a bigger sensor compared with SC2, but smaller sensor compared with Z1 because the lens is smaller compared with the 1-inch triple folded optical system. Consider it's a lot bigger compared with SC2, so the twin folded optical system is possible to fit inside with a bigger image sensor that come to the hub image sensor. It's IMX586. And there's a tiny little detail. Around this lens and multi-touch screen, the gray finish, the soft gray finish, reduce the lens flare. Because judging from my own experience with Insta360 1R, when I capture star labs with the 1R 360 mode, that multi-touch screen will add the light pollution, extra lens flare to dual fisheye lenses, because each one of the fisheye lens has a super wide field of view that could capture a glass in front that will add more reflections to the point. So I wonder if RICOH could design an accessory that could finally block all the touchscreen when you shoot in low light to reduce any one of the lens pollution. Concept 360 degrees for usability. So in the previous interview in between the Magtite 360 zoomers and Shinobu Fujiki, the Shinobu Fujiki told us that the RICOH is concentrating on designing a new RICOH THETA model that is for the ease of use, because the ease of use is the key idea for the best-selling 360 camera on the market, especially when designed to virtual tours. Here is a sample image captured by the THETA X. So the color is quite accurate, but if you really take a closer look at take a look at the sky, you can see a slightly stitching line on the top. Okay, and this one for the interior shot, I think this is pretty stunning. Look at the detail, the dynamic range, and the color accuracy. Everything gives me a lot of satisfaction. If you take a look at the front, yeah. If you won't have a perfect result, there's just a tiny little bit small stitching line on the top. But I think it's very easy for RICOH to overcome this issue in the future with the firmware upgrade, because with the Z1, the in-camera stitch result is quite stunning. Striving for ease of use with amazing high performance. So the RICOH THETA X was designed for ease of use at the same time with amazing high performance. I suppose that on the left column we'll design some killer feature for ease of use. For the right column, this is how RICOH defines amazing high performance. Let's take a look at the left column. The first time a large 2.25-inch LCD touch panel equipped on the THETA series. Now you can take you right there in minutes. The detailed shooting setting can be made on the touch panel. Just like you have a smartphone, the RICOH THETA X looks like an Android smartphone that cannot make phone call at the same time, equipped with a dual fisheye structure. Can natively surf the internet, the Wi-Fi connect to your router, and you can download the plugin directly inside the THETA X. You don't even have to use the RICOH THETA app. Share your images or content to cloud. Maybe you can even upload your video direct to YouTube because the THETA X has the in-camera stage with stabilization and save as a standard equirectangular format. So a giant touchscreen for the RICOH THETA X will definitely revolutionize the way how we use the 360 camera. So just like the experience we had on the left panel Pilot EE, but that was a professional camera. This one is quite small and compact, but with a large display. Support external memory card in addition to internal memory capacity. So it has internally 46 gigabyte for users, and you can also add the micro SD card in SD card slot right beside the battery, and it's a removable battery door. So because the battery is replaceable, and I have made a deep investigation of the battery, the numbers, they use exactly the same battery with the Z1 and the RICOH GR series cameras, and you can easily purchase the third-party batteries as a spare parts with a very reasonable price. But the capacity of the battery is quite limited, so the battery life should be very limited for the RICOH THETA X at the same time. Okay, on the right side, let's take how RICOH define the performance. Record natural 360-degree imaging use approximately 60 megapixel, that is 11K, the long edge, 5.5K, and the short edge. Equirectangular format, in-camera stage, in-camera stabilization. The RICOH call it the zenith correction, but RICOH should keep improving their merging algorithm on the THETA X to make it more natural, make it more useful in the stitching line, judging from all the sample footage. Shoot incredibly realistic spherical image and videos using video with improved image stabilization up to 5.7K and 30 FPS. But here is a devices that can play back the video may differ depending on the video resolution. Click here for the latest operation environment. So there is something that we should notice on the RICOH THETA X. Did you see that? The RICOH THETA X will capture at 5.7K at 30 FPS and 4K at 60 FPS. And for the 4K 60 FPS cannot be transferred depending on type of the smartphone. If you are using the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II, maybe a Mark III, and Google Pixel 4, Samsung Galaxy S3, this smartphone are capable enough to transfer 4K 60 FPS. And for shooting with 5.7K at 30 FPS cannot be transferred to a smartphone because your smartphone cannot play back the natively 5.7K video. But Insta360 choose an alternative solution. They will save a proxy file with low res at the same time together with their high res format. And when you're working on the mobile platform, you edit on a proxy, but when you export, it will substitute with the raw high precision footage. Here you can see, due to the built-in GPS, the QZSS. The QZSS designed for the Japanese users. So for the Japanese users, you should have GPS reinforcement with help of the QZSS and assisted GPS. With assisted GPS, you can make some localization on the basis of your wireless network on the basis of your nearby stations. So with assisted GPS, maybe you can even have a roughly GPS coordinate, even shoot indoors without your phone. So this is a great feature. I will definitely test it out when I have get my hands on the machine, because that is to say, even you shoot indoors with THETA X without your phone. Okay, so that is how RICOH defines this high performance. The performance is really impressive, especially when you can shoot 5.7K in camera stage with stabilization, and at the same time save as a standard MP4 format, 120 megabits per second, equirectangular format, the 2/1 in MP4. GoPro Max could save the stabilized footage, but with the specialized EAC format. EAC format is a universal format, but it's not friendly to our customers. We are more familiar with equirectangular format. I'm really glad to see that RICOH engineer has solved this problem, as it definitely make the THETA X to be the most useful 5.7K 360 camera for video shooting. Okay, in this video you can see how the touch panel revolutionized the user interface. Let's take a look at. If you scroll from top to bottom, you can see some quick buttons. There are Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, a touch panel, and some notification. You can also upgrade firmware, change brightness, change shutter volume, and save and enter in the client mode. Client mode is a router mode. You can connect to your router and get controlled by your other smartphone in the same localized network. You can scroll from down to top, set to some menu settings, explore values, white balance, and with even more options. I suppose this demonstration shot in the full auto mode. And if you scroll from down to bottom, straight up to the top, you can change the shoot settings. So normal shootings, you can post view, you can set save timer, my settings, and it can change image size to redesign from ground up, I think, for some user interface. Left to right is entering the gallery. You can preview every one of the image. And if you scroll from right to left, you enter in the plugin store with the Wi-Fi connection. That is to say, you can download and install a plugin on the go with your Wi-Fi connection. Now it has a magnesium alloy body that is both durable and feels high-end. This is the material. Achieve the thin, lightweight body as a 2.25 TFT colored LCD with an auto brightness adjustment function. You can use the 5.7K video, makes the world of VR more real because it has more pixels, more accuracy, more a clear shot in your VR headset. But you should notice with a 4K 60 FPS, you should experience a much more fluent experience with your headset as well. And I do hope the THETA Plus app could learn something from the iQuick Spin. iQuick Spin is an excellent application that could transfer to reframe the 360 photo directly into a video that is wow on the social network. So definitely check out the iQuick Spin app if you want to learn more about the THETA Plus. This time you can also use the conventional RICOH THETA application with a Wi-Fi connection with the THETA X and preview and download in your online gallery menu. And you can share and upload your work to the theta360.com because RICOH THETA provide you a temporarily cloud service to every one of image you share on the website. But I wonder if RICOH could invent a THETA Plus in your THETA X customized Android operating system, because that will totally blow your mind away, because you can easily edit your image on the go with the built-in THETA Plus. That is to say, RICOH has advanced architecture from the hardware, software experience, and the whole RICOH THETA plugin stores. Actually, each one of the plugin is an app on the Android operating system. But previously, considering there is no colorful touchscreen panel, every one of the plugins don't have a user interface. But I suppose in the future, every one of the third-party developers, including myself, should consider to design a plugin with the user interface on the basis of this 2.25-inch LED touch panel. And here you can see take a deeper investigation on the specification of the RICOH THETA X. It's supposed to release in March 2022, so we still have to wait for over 1 month for RICOH THETA X to finally arrive on the market. The weight is around 170 grams, including battery and SD memory card, and 144 grams without. Every one of the IMX 586 has 48 megapixels with 8,000 multiplied 6,000. For conventional design in the 360 camera, the circular fisheye has a diameter of the 6,000 pixels. But sometimes the optical engineer tend to crop a little bit. Normally speaking, the RICOH THETA X could capture the 12K and long edge and 6K and short edge, but considering the optical design, the final result arrives on the 11K. So that is how we make some approximate estimation for the final resolution on the RICOH THETA cameras. But if you perform a full sensor readout at the same time, perform a quad Bayer merge that can merge 4 pixels in one, at this time you have a bigger equivalent pixel size, but they have low resolution. That is where you got a 5.5K approximate 50 megapixels and still images. And that is to say, for the with a 48 megapixels performing the full sensor readout with a quad Bayer patterns, you got the readout 12 megapixels information from one of the image sensor. If you combine the two sensors, it's actually recording a 4K video on a single image sensor. If you stitch two of them, you got 5.7K. That is how the GoPro Max, the Insta360 and X2, they all get the 5.7K resolution, because each one of the sensor could read out equivalent 4K footage. There's some warnings, if you want shot in 5.7K and 4K at 6 FPS, available when the wireless lines off, when power is supplied with AC adapter. And the RICOH THETA X could also perform in 4K 30 FPS and 100 megabits per second. This is a very high bandwidth, the 4K live stream. And for microphones, considering it's only one microphone on the front, and internally it has a 46 gigabyte and supports to 64 gigabytes or higher, and conforms UHS-1 interface and video speed V30 XFAT format. A number of photos can be recorded. Here you can see the take a spec sheet, and it also has a corner mount strap at the bottom. It is compatible with the tripod, the stand, especially with some conventional monopod bundle. Capture clear shots go beyond 14 centimeters, and you should probably get a relatively high precision stitch out of 14 centimeters. And you can shot in still image, video, auto, shutter priority, ISO priority, and manual. Considering there's a fixed aperture of f2.4, so you cannot change aperture. So there's no aperture priority mode like the THETA D1. And for the live stream, there's only auto exposure, right? And you can set the export composition. And for the ISO sensitivity, it comes from 50 to 3200. But judging from my own experience with this image sensor IMX 586, it supports dual gain ISO. So maybe in the future, the RICOH THETA X could capture the natively the HDR video with 5.7K. Technically speaking, it is possible, and it is another missing killer feature for the THETA X. It's white balance, shutter speed, shooting functions. Shooting functions, here you can see there's no reduction. There's no dynamic range compensation, but there's noise reduction, HDR rendering, continuous shooting. There's no handheld HDR. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no handheld HDR. If you focus on the handheld HDR, you should definitely check out the THETA V and the THETA D1. Here's the battery life. So the battery life is not that great. You can capture approximate 220 photos, and for the videos, you can capture approximate 30 minutes. The battery life is quite limited, so you should definitely get a lot more spare part battery as a backup plan. USB Type-C port is now located on the side of the THETA X and support USB 3.2 Generation 1. So I have to test the read and write speed, because if it can run the full speed USB 3.0 Generation 1, the benchmark should be pretty insane. And it's also compatible with the remote control TR/1. This is a Bluetooth protocol wireless controller for the RICOH THETA camera models. There are 7 elements in 7 groups, fixed aperture, half-inch sensor, 48 megapixels. This one is quite interesting. The global navigation system. It supports GPS and SBS. SBS has different categories. So this is work specs in the North America, in Europe, in China, and in India. So for the customer in these regions, you will get GPS reinforcement with an extra bonus SBS system. And for the Japanese users, you can use the QZSS as a GPS reinforcement. And for the assisted GPS, maybe you can still localize your RICOH THETA X, even shooting indoors and with a Wi-Fi connection. I got to test it myself when I get my hands on the THETA X. And the wireless communication, the 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. This HTTP protocol with Open Spherical Camera API Level 2, and with a firmware upgrade and plugin store, you can also support the HTTP safe. You can see there are 7 bonus tips. That is, you can get more information on the THETA X. The second one, if the temperature in the camera rises, the shooting will end automatically. That is probably a hint that the RICOH THETA X will overheat if you capture in 5.7K video. The maximum shooting time for recording the 5.7K 30 fps and 4K 60 is approximately 10 minutes at an ambient temperature of 25 degrees centigrade. So the RICOH THETA X will probably overheat if you keep shooting at the maximum performance. So that is a bonus tip for you guys. If you want to capture at least 5.7K and 30 fps, maybe the THETA X is not your ideal camera. The maximum time of streaming is approximate 25 minutes. So that is probably to say the THETA X will overheat in long-term use. And with a firmware upgrade, it will add 2K mode. It's 1080p actually, which means that the maximum time can be distributed for even longer period of time, but is not quantified. So that is probably a walkthrough, a deeply walkthrough, the spec sheet introduction page on the RICOH THETA X. I think you got to know everything that I have shared with you in all of the materials in the introduction page. So coming next, let's take a look at the THETA 360 guide. This is a forum that gathers all of the RICOH THETA developers. The RICOH launches a new THETA X 360 camera, launch 11K, all this information, and there are some unique features. You can install plugin. Here you can see some summaries on the killer features. Unique features. The ability to install plugins direct from the camera, ability to upgrade firmware direct from camera, exposure composition and data balance adjustment for live streaming. So this is some additional features for the THETA X that are missing on the official page. And the battery, you can see the DB110 is the same battery with the THETA V. Actually, for the THETA Z1, also use the same battery because I have ever come across with the transparent version of the RICOH THETA Z1. Here are something for the third-party developers. The announcement indicates that the THETA X runs Android OS and will allow third-party developers to release plugins for the camera. Is very exciting because the ability to control plugins from OLED touchscreen. Actually, it's not OLED touchscreen, it's a TFT touchscreen. A touchscreen is a huge advantage for plugin application. That is to say, from now on, you can consider to design your own interface for the THETA camera on the basis of the RICOH THETA X. The THETA X also allows the installation of parties plugin directly from the camera, similar to the mobile phone. It connects to your website router to get plugins directly. The V and the Z1 use Android 7 on the Qualcomm Snapdragon architecture. The THETA X also uses the Qualcomm Snapdragon, but I don't know exactly which chipset they have implemented inside the camera. I will got to check it out with the help of the visor for the development. You can get connected backstage and check out the spec sheet on the chipset. And you can also use the USB API, the web API, firmware upgrade, and the team of the THETA36.guide, we perform extensive testing. You can always rely on the THETA36.guide because these amazing guys always helps on the third-party development. So if you are interested in developing a new plugins for THETA X, definitely check out this the THETA360.guide. Last but not least, let's talk about some missing features for the THETA X. Let's start with the image sensor. I suppose they use the IMX586. Here you can take a look at. This was an image sensor released in 2018 and used to be the iconic image sensor for a wider range of the flagship model Android devices. Here you can see on the Wikipedia for this image sensor. There are a lot of phones that use this image sensor. Even the Google Pixel 6 Pro on the telephoto lens and the DJI Mavic 3, the telephoto lens, they all use the IMX586. The things that drive me crazy is this quad Bayer patterns. Did you see that? Here you can see this is the pixel array for this image sensor. So every one of the pixel, they have a quad Bayer array. This is quite different from this Bayer pattern, and you can recompose. You can array conversion, use signal processing. So this image sensor could produce at 48 megapixels with full sensor readout and the conversion on the basis of this quad Bayer array. But at the same time, you can also use its 4-in-1 pixel that forms a single pixel at 1.6 microns. This image sensor is also support dual gain ISO, so that you say you can read out each pixel at a different internal gain, and you can produce your HDR video in real time with no time delay, and you can recompose at 5.7K HDR video for your THETA X. This is definitely possible for the THETA X. I think the RICOH engineer should definitely find a solution to make it happen in the future. Because with our flagship Android phones with IMX586, almost all of them have the capability to shot in HDR video. For some of them, you even could capture HDR video in high frame rate. Okay, to wrap up, I think this RICOH THETA X is quite impressive. The end of the year 2022 is quite exciting new year for the 360 industry to awake from the silence of the 2021. And this one, and I think the THETA X will definitely be one of the best camera in the virtual tour industry. But I think that in the future, the RICOH engineers should definitely consider to add even more features, accessories. Number one is the touchscreen coverage. Considering you got to capture something in low light, your touchscreen gonna add more reflections. That's lens flares. Number two is to bring back the raw DNG format. So by that moment, we can finally use the dual fisheye raw plugin, with the burst capture API. And the next one, you should hear if you are watching this video, you can definitely consider to add the user interface natively on the THETA X with a brand new dual fisheye raw plugin. I would like to pay you for that. Number four is the natively HDR video rendering technique with the dual IMX586 image sensors. The RICOH engineers should definitely find a solution to perform HDR video, because with HDR video, this camera is more capable in our everyday use. It should definitely push the boundary of the whole industry to the next level. Every one of the technology we have experience on the flagship Android phone 2 years ago now can be immigrated to the THETA X for the better experience in the 360 world. And that is all for the THETA X that I can share with you at this moment. So in the future, I will definitely share with you my full in-depth review on the THETA X once I got my hands on the machine. And if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to thumb up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Once again, cheers for RICOH, and see you next time. Stay safe. Bye.